entertainment, insights. Don't take life too seriously. Welcome to Brainsky Unleashed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brainsky Unleashed. Today, I am joined by John Morley. John Morley is kind of a big deal. He's got a radio show that's rather popular on AM/FM. He's heard in the New York, New Jersey area, as well as California. He's got over 18 million listeners that listen to his show. So clearly he's pretty well known. I'm thrilled to have him on the show here today. He's also a serial entrepreneur, drives a highly successful podcast. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to just kind of banter back and forth today about business and what we can do with it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So John, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much. It's a privilege, a pleasure, an honor to be with you and many of your guests. And of course, all the people that are tuning in either today or that might be deciding to tune in later, after the holidays or in between the holidays.
Well, if they're really smart, they'll listen to this 5 times.
Yeah, because they never really get that bell curve. They have to realize that they should be listening to it now, maybe listen to it on the way to work. Of course, don't intercept your driving, but that's why we have the podcast version, so you can actually just listen and do whatever you're doing. Maybe do while you're jogging, while you're walking. You could do it anytime you want, but yeah, you should listen to it at least 5, 6 times because that bell curve, you're going to hear something different every time we talk.
And the most important thing to do when listening to a podcast, in addition to actually listening or watching or learning, is clicking the 5 stars and making sure you leave an absolutely positive review, because there's nothing worse than getting less than 5 stars. And frankly, I don't feel that I deserve that. So please, there is your advice, and I ask you to just follow it. Thank you. All right. So, John, you are a highly successful serial entrepreneur. Can we just go into your background just a little bit?
Sure.
And give the folks a little bit of background on you and why you're able to offer the advice that you do and what that could mean to them.
So what I like to start off with is, so I'm an engineer, degree in trade, but that doesn't make me a serial entrepreneur. So when I was in college, I just kind of skipped the chase. I decided to start a company. I started a company at $5 an hour by phone and $10. It wasn't by hours, by incident. So long story short, I got into that, started an IT tech company before I even graduated, changed the name to something that was a little more apropos. At first, we called it JC and Son, but all my friends kept teasing me, saying, John, when are you going to come over and paint my bedroom? When are you going to paint the bathroom? I said, I don't paint anything. The only thing I paint is like sip and paint. That's it. And it actually came out pretty beautiful. But anyway, before I graduated, one of my friends says, oh, John, you have to get a marketing advertisement. I'm like, no, I don't. Yes, you do. Okay. So his uncle had a connection with one of the largest marketing advertising companies, not a professionalism. I'm not going to name their firm, and you wouldn't want to do business with them anyway. My point is that I decided after, I think it was like 12, 14 years back, I said, I got to fire these people. But how do I get fired these people I'm married at the hip with? How do I fire these people? I'm so in bed. I'm so connected with them. How do I fire them? I said, I just got to do it. I got to go cold turkey, but I've got to figure out, what are they doing wrong? Well, the one thing they're doing wrong is they can't even print their way out of a paper bag. Okay. What I mean by that is they don't know grammar. They make mistakes, but forget all that. I decided I need to get rid of them. So when I graduated college, I had decided to buy the best printer you could buy. My grandmother used to work as an admin assistant for one of the highest level R&D people for Roche Pharmaceutical. You guys might know them. And so she did statistical typing, and she did it better than any word processor did it, because she did it in her head, and she was really, really good with how to line all the columns up. Well, long story short, she said to me, John, she says, when you get your first printer, make sure it's a Xerox. All right. Okay. So I did. Xerox at that time was like $20,000, $30,000 for a black and white printer, mind you, not color. So I had a black and white fax, copy, scanner, the whole 9 yards. Well, I decided that I need to go back to them and ask them, how do I become a mom and pop print shop? Because these people obviously don't know how to print their way through a paper bag. I'm sure a printing company would probably be able to tell me, how do I become a mom and pop print shop? So I asked them. He said, John, join us for breakfast and lunch. I joined him for breakfast and lunch. He said, John, it's real simple. I said, okay, how do I do it? He says, we'll tell you. We just need $150. So I reach into my pocket and I give the guy $150. He starts chuckling. He says, no, we mean $150,000. Oh. So I go to my bank. My bank is supposed to stop you from doing stupid things. Well, my bank said, we're ready to give you the loan. They said, when do you want it? I said, you mean you're ready to give me the money? Yeah, we'll give you the money tomorrow. Oh, I was not expecting that. So now I decide I asked for 150. They were giving me the full 150. I said, I need to start realizing that I'm becoming, because an entrepreneur is what I became when I started taking my IT business, JMore, and taking it from, let's say, lights on the wall to compliance to being passionate about it. Because that's when you really start to make money, when you get passionate about something. So then I decided, well, I guess it's time to put on my serial entrepreneur cap, or at least try it on for size. And I said, even though they're giving me 150, I'm going to make my first serial entrepreneur move. I'm going to go back to Xerox. I'm going to tell them, hey guys, I'm so embarrassed. My credit wasn't as good as I thought. I did get the loan, but I only got 130,000.
There you go.
And I said, I apologize. What do I owe you for the breakfast or for the lunch? I just want to pay you because obviously I'm a lost cause for you. I knew what I was doing. He says, well, how much did you get? I said, well, that's the thing. I only got 130,000. Out of 150, I said, yeah. I said, what do I owe you for the breakfast? I mean, like, what was $150? What do I owe you? Just sit, you want coffee? You want donuts? They always want to give me coffee, donuts, fruit. Have a seat. So I sit. They go run around, to like the car dealership. He goes, runs to the corner. He's doing all kinds of hand gestures, comes back to me. He's very happy. He says, Mr. Morley, you are in luck. I said, how the heck am I in luck? I'm 20,000 short. On the contrary, yes. But you see, next week, we're rolling out a very super deal. I didn't even know they were doing this. Xerox, who we resell, is rolling a deal next week that any of these printers and anything better, you will get $20,000 off on paper. So he says, are you ready to move forward? I'm able to give you that deal today. I'm not supposed to, but I'm going to give you the deal on Monday that I was supposed to give you today. So it's Friday. I said, let me go home and think about it. This is a lot for me. Entering this new kind of business. Let me just have the weekend. So I said, I'll call you on Monday. Don't call me. I'll call you. So it was Monday afternoon. I walked in and I said, guys, I said, I really thought about doing this. I really wanted to do this, but there's another cost that I don't think I realized. I still am going to owe $20,000 for the training. I don't know anything about fireys, electronics or imaging. I'm an engineer. I know nothing about graphics. I said, so as much as I appreciate your generosity and the offer you're giving me, how can I buy a machine that I don't know how to use?
You're really now working the hustle.
Yes.
You're going for the deal.
Yes.
All right.
So he tells me, do I want donuts? So I said, I don't like anything. Just okay, have your coffee, tea, whatever. He goes off to his guy, runs back. He goes, Mr. Morley, I forgot to tell you the best part. I said, what was the best part? I forgot to tell you Friday. I completely forgot that the deal not only comes with the $20,000 off, but we're giving you an additional $20,000 of training for this model or anything higher. So we're giving you 40 hours of free training. My jaw dropped. I was like, so let me get this straight. I'm getting this $150,000 machine for $130,000. I'm getting 40 hours of free training. And I'm getting deferment, so I don't have to pay anything to the end of January, right? He said, well, I didn't say that. I said, no, but you're giving me free payments. I'm not going to have to make a payment till January. Because if those things hadn't happened, I think I could push myself to move forward. But if you can't do that, then it might not be the right time. It was good to learn. He runs back to his guy, comes back to me again. He says, is that all you want?
That's a dumb question.
I'd like to get the machine delivered to me. Today is the 27th. I'd really like to get the machine delivered to me January 7th. And I would like to start making payments on it 2 months later because I don't want to have it now for Christmas because I'm going to have to pay for it in January. Done. Sign the paperwork. So I walk into this big firm in New York. In fact, I wrote an article on it about 6 months ago. It's called How and Why I Fired a Multi-Million-Dollar Marketing Advertising Company. And I said, hey guys, we had a great run. We're done. I'll cut you to the chase. They bring me their sales rep and they try to wine and dine me. They try to give me discounts and that. And then they find I'm opening a company. They're like, oh, bro, they're like, that's below the belt. Like, how you doing that? I said, what you're doing is below the belt. You're taking my money and my father's money for years. You're not giving us an ROI. Yeah, but John, your business is so competitive. Right. So that's why you probably shouldn't be in this industry anymore. Or maybe you shouldn't service IT and tech companies because you don't know what you're doing.
Hmm.
And they kind of like, we admire you, John. That's great. But, unfortunately, we don't want to see you fail. And we know you're going to fail because you don't know what you're doing. I said, well, thank you so much for the vote of confidence. We failed for 2 years. They came knocking on my door after we succeeded. And they said, hey, John, just want to know if we could help you out. Being in the industry like this, it's a dog eat dog world, and we've been doing it for years. We know the big guys. So what we thought we would do to help you out, we don't do this for everybody. We're going to help you with your clients, and you could keep your name on everything. We'll do all the work, and you could take all the credit. So I said to the guy, because he wants to come and take me for lunch, I said, look, I got a better idea. How about we help you with some of those clients, the ones that haven't sued you yet, the ones that you don't know that you've really lost, that are kind of like, just haven't pulled the trigger. Why don't we help you with some of those? Look at their plans, put a campaign together, and get them a true ROI that they've been yearning for since the day they've been with you. And we'll keep your name on it, and Orbit will do all the work. How does that
Talk
work?
about a hard. Wow. I mean, you really hit him hard.
I did. And he said to me, he says, well, John, I don't have the authorization to do that. I said, I understand. I said, so with all due respect, if you can't make that kind of a decision, then you can't buy me lunch. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't be buying me lunch, because people that take me to lunch or I take to lunch have to make decisions. And it doesn't seem like you're even in my circle. So with all due respect, when your boss wants to take me to lunch, then we'll go to lunch. Kind of walked away with his head between his legs, was like, didn't know what to do. And they went away. And I built a full print production graphic media design company. So a serial entrepreneur is somebody that's not wanted in other states, just to let you know illegally. It's somebody that figures out there's a problem in business and either wants to solve that problem for their own business or another problem in another business. So I realized my problem. I had no way to market and advertise my company. So I built my own engine. And I always say to people, there's a lot of people that are going to knock you, right? They're going to say to you, look, you can't do this, all this stuff. You have to stop listening to them. But what I always say to people is, you're successful when I don't want to call them your enemies, when your naysayers or their family ask you for a job.
Right. And that's true. It's when you overcome disbelief and you solve problems. For me, being an entrepreneur, I have had many instances where I saw a problem, tried to solve a problem. I find the one thing that always blows up in my face is, if I dabble. If you're only dabbling, it's really never gonna work out very well. You gotta kinda be all in when it comes to, getting into doing a business as far as, entrepreneurialism and problem solving. If it's just a simple dabble, it just doesn't work out right. So it's that commitment to get in, but also being that, fearless to just forge ahead regardless of how painful it might be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And
Too
for whatever reason, a lot of people think, I don't want to knock books. Books are great, but you're not going to get what you need to be successful in a book. I mean, you'll get some tools, don't get me wrong, but you can't just go read the book and suddenly it's just going to happen in your life.
No, I'm one of those, people who, God, I gotta do it myself. I've gotta make a mess. I gotta break things. I've gotta fail only to find the right way, and it's like, at times I've been able to use, like business coaches and,
Hmm.
coaching programs and things like that to kind of cut down on some of the mistakes I'm gonna make, yet still, I will jump right out there and make the mistakes. Others may be a lot brighter than I am and actually pay full attention, or do what they're told. But doing it completely blind or only with a book or, doing it without enough heart, I think is where people get into a lot of trouble. What do you think just from, because I know that you do coaching and I know that
Yes.
you help people, I know you advise people. What do you think is like the number one mistake that anyone makes when they take the plunge, they decide they want to go into business for themselves? What is that number one mistake that they make, do you think?
I think the first mistake is they don't realize the time commitment that's going to be involved. They think that, they're just going to do this and then it's suddenly just going to fall in their lap. It's not. There's going to be some work that you have to do. And you're also going to have to make some sacrifices in life. That could be social, that could be a variety of things. And are you that committed? I always say to people, there's a word called commitment. And commitment doesn't mean that I want to do it when it's convenient for me. Commitment means that I'm going to do whatever it takes to be successful. So it's funny we're talking about this because on my show, every week we talk about a master topic. We take on Saturday, we start a new master topic, and then we roll all the way through the week and we finish up on a Friday. So there's 7 days to it. And this particular week, depending on when this is going to air, but when we're doing this recording, that we're talking about how the level and the change of male masculinity has changed and how that's needed to be embraced to now be successful. And so there are stereotypes out there. If you're not this, then you're not that. If you don't do this, you're not that. If you're a fireman, well, then you're great. If you're not a fireman, well, then you're not masculine. If you don't lift 500 pounds away, like there's all these stupid things. If you're not,
Dude, man, I don't even know if we know what a woman is anymore at this
right,
point. I mean,
right, exactly.
it's very confusing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very, and I think there's been some back and forths, and I think there's a whole thing of equality, but the big problem is that you got masculine people, okay, calling the males, that are basically, when they feel like they're being attacked, and I don't mean attack, but whenever they're being questioned about something, they get aggressive. And it's kind of like that fight or flight. Well, how dare you question me? So I think the same thing is happening in entrepreneurship, in businesses. People believe that, I start a business and everything's just going to happen. It doesn't. You've got to do some work. You've got to do some research. And I think the number two problem that happens is people start their business. So they now have the issue about the time. They start a business with something they're not truly passionate about. You might decide,
Right.
I don't know, you want to start a business to help water plants. Great. Do you like plants? No, my wife or my kids or let's say my significant other loves to water plants. And I figure I'll love to,
But you don't.
but I hate watering plants, let's just say. So
Right. Yeah.
how can I embrace myself to be in a business? See, what I tell people every day, and people think I'm crazy, I don't get paid to do what I do to work because I don't work every day. I creatively play and I just keep playing. And then people send me checks to play. Now, I don't play with sand, but I do play with a lot of things. So having that, embracing that attitude of being creative and being playful, a lot of people are like, well, I have to know this. I have to know that. See, corporate America has changed people's beliefs in that if it's not all on paper or if it's not exactly this way, it can't be successful. So I think there's that fear, which is false evidence appearing real, that you can be successful, but you have to just know that you've got to believe in yourself. Earl Nightingale said something a long time ago. We become what we think about most often. We change our words, we change our thoughts. We change our thoughts, we change our mind. We change our mind, we will in fact improve the quality of our life. But everybody just thinks that, they're just going to get this download and that it's just going to happen overnight. Yes, you could get downloads, but you still got to respond to that inspired action, the thoughts that
I
you
would,
get.
I would almost argue though that I don't think it's so much the corporate environment as much as is the education system that's just pumping out people with limited beliefs.
I think limited belief happens for two reasons. One, because programs get installed with them at a young age. But I say to corporate because, see, corporate and military, they have a way of brainwashing you. They work very
Oh,
hard.
sure, they want to keep you in whatever boxes they've established for
Yes,
you.
exactly. So by you being in that box, you're not able to push out. And people that try to push out, well, they have punishments for them or they suddenly get terminated. And I say
Right.
getting terminated is probably the best thing that can happen to you.
It's a gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah. I have a very good friend of mine who will remain nameless, but I was so happy for him recently. He had one of those golden handcuff jobs, right?
Yep.
So, no passion for what he was doing. Company treated him like complete and total crap.
Yep.
Paid him phenomenally well with excellent benefits. And so you got this perpetual level of misery
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and a fear of breaking free from that perpetual level of misery because the benefits and the pay are good. And it's like, there's no amount of benefits and pay to me that are worth it if you're going to be suffering forever, you know?
So this gives you to an interesting story. So before I started my company full time, I had part time, obviously, when I graduated. So I did some work, unfortunately, for the government agency, one of the government agencies, and they didn't treat me very well. But I just kind of just decided to bite my tongue and just, learn, use it as a learning experience. I knew I wasn't going to be there forever. And they were always trying to be condescending and they knew everything. And there was one time that they knew it so well. I said, well, if you know what's going on, then maybe you should handle it. You're telling everybody you know how to use Excel, or you're telling everybody that you know how to run the software, then why don't you run the
Do it.
department and I'll learn from you? Well, John, I can, but I don't have time. Okay, then I would appreciate in the future, when somebody asks you for something that you can steer them on to me. But let's not play the condescending game that, I do it. And, John just kind of like tries. Please don't put me down like that, because I don't need to be in an organization like that. You guys
But
need me to
people
be
have
here. I don't need to be here.
but people have the fear of saying that to someone who is paying their paycheck and it happens to be a nice paycheck. Like you, having been in the entrepreneurial world, having worked myself, I can't stomach the idea that I might have to work for some other a-hole. I'd rather work for my own a-hole, which is myself.
That's a realization a lot of people don't find out till too late in life. And so what
Yeah.
happened is I think it was 2 days before Thanksgiving. So that
Mhm.
was like whether the Tuesday or Wednesday. And I went into the lady's office. I knocked on the door. I'll call her Mary. That's not her name. She was the leader of HR, and she did a lot of other things. And she was one of the most condescending clan leaders. She like ran the
Mm.
condescending, fraternity or sorority there at the office.
Wonderful people. Wonderful people. Yes.
So I knocked on her door. I said, "Hey, do you have a minute?" She's like, "Oh, sure, John." I said, "Listen, I want to come in. Can I sit down?" "Sure." "I want to come in. I want to say thank you." "Oh, you're welcome." "For the chair?" "No, no, no. I want to say thank you because we had an amazing run and we're done." Excuse me, John?" "Well, I want to say thank you. I've really enjoyed my time." "Your time with what?" "I've enjoyed my time
Here.
here. And I'm officially saying goodbye today, and I will not be back after today." The jaw dropped. "Well, John, do you know what you're doing?" Yeah, I'm resigning today." "No, no, but you realize you're leaving your vestment on the table. You're 2 days away from your vestment for life." I said, you know, a lot of people would probably just hang on for that. But to me, I'll make money no matter what I do. And
Right.
so if I let that money, okay, be something that holds me in to this organization, things will always hold me in for life. So I right now want to walk away from that because that's just a small reward to what I'll be able to get once I leave your organization.
Which is so true. And yet, once again, fear prevents
They
people from
they
making
what
those
made me do it was
decisions.
there was a lady, an elderly lady, that same day, and I wasn't planning on doing it, but that same day before I walked to her office, I was doing some schools. And I ran IT for all the schools. So I was coming back from one place. There were like three places. This was one. There were two other ones. Well, I came back and she said, "John," she says, "do you know what time it is?" I said, "Yes." I said, "It's 1 o'clock." No, it was 1:30. She says, "Yeah." She's exactly. She says, "Do you know what time you left such and such?" I said, "Yeah, I left there at 12, I think it was 12:30. She says, "Exactly." She says, "It's 1 o'clock." I said, "Okay." She says, "If you look at your timesheets from yesterday, the day before, last week, and even last month, you were leaving and it took you approximately 14 and a half to 16 minutes max to get here." So I said, And you're saying this because, well, what happened to you? Well, let's see. I went there. I signed out. I walked to my car. It was a sweltering day. I didn't take lunch. I walked to my car, got in my car, got to the traffic light. I think I waited an extra 30 seconds because the light was not red and there was a cop there. I went to the next light. There were two kids crossing the street, so it took me extra 2 minutes. And then after that, oh, I remember I was just so flustered because it was so hot out that I just went and got a quick bottle of water. We got you. I stopped for 1 minute to get a bottle of water and get back in my car, and I didn't take lunch today. Well, that doesn't matter. So the government's not paying you to stop. Okay. So you'd rather pay for my hospital bills if I would have passed out and went to the hospital, but you couldn't afford to pay the time. And I paid for the water bottle. So you paid maybe 45 seconds for me to go get the water bottle. Well, John, that's okay, but please don't let that happen again. So after I resigned, I walked out to this elderly lady. She was like the head Gestapo. Nice lady, but she had this this little dig in her. I said, hey, listen, I just want to let you know you're not going to have to worry anymore about those 2.5, 3 minutes that I might say, oh, what happened? You finally decide to manage your time? But I said, no. I actually gave my notice today that I'll be leaving your firm. But I wish you all the best. I've always enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
just shut up. There was another lady on the floor that said, John, I need your help. So I go out. She didn't know that I resigned yet. And she's like, you better hurry up because you only got 15 minutes because we have to be out of here at 5. So she said, you coming in tomorrow? I said, no. I said, it's a day before Thanksgiving. She said, oh, that's right. She says, you're one of these people that just works whenever you want. Are you coming in next week? I said, no, I'm not coming in Monday. Well, when are you coming in? Well, to be honest with you, I'm not. Well, when? I'm done after today. She's like, oh, hon. She's like, I'm so sorry. She says, I knew they were going to do this to you. Dude, what to me? She said, they were going to fire you. You're such a great person. Fired me? I resigned today. I quit. Oh, well, I'm sure we'll find a more suitable person. I'm sure you
Isn't
will.
the corporate ego the most fascinating thing? People have this amazing ability to think that they are just so incredible and their job is so incredible and their company is so incredible that everyone should be just clamoring and holding on tight to whatever bull crap they throw at you. It's nauseating. So listen, we're gonna shift gears.
Okay.
Uh, we're getting a little short on time, and I kind of want to run this hypothetical
Sure.
scenario and just kind of high level stuff. Uh, what would happen if you knew a guy, or I know a guy, who had a passion for making bread, right? And I mean, we're not talking about just a dabbler. I mean, this guy has an absolute pure passion for making bread. He would make Mr. Wonder when it comes to bread. This kind of guy, right? But yet he's got himself a corporate job. He's got the benefits. He's got the pay. He's got the schedule. I mean, everything is great. Yet there's this fire inside of him, this passion. What could he possibly do with that? Can you make money by baking bread? I mean,
Well, I mean, I think
just
the
wondered
first
what
thing is,
what
if
do you
he
tell him?
doesn't have the financial resources to go into that, obviously keep working his job that he's doing. And the second thing I would say is start small. Maybe start making some bread, maybe for some family or some friends, maybe launch a website, see how that works out. I would start selling to friends and family first because they're going to give you the least trouble. And then once you've gotten past that point and you've grown, then you need to start realizing that you have to rent a commercial kitchen because you're not really allowed technically to bake in your own kitchen. There's a limit to how much you can do. So friends and family aren't going to give you a problem. So once we know your food's good, now you could rent a commercial kitchen and now maybe you could bake your bread. Because the thing is that when you bake bread, you're going to have to bake it a lot. Maybe you might start out with something where you bake bread for just the weekend. Maybe you bake it to give out over the weekend. Maybe you sell it at some craft fairs or something. But I think the big thing is the freshness. So if you do something online, you have to realize what's going to be involved and how much is it going to take to make bread. I mean, it's going to be a commitment. So I think you've got to figure out, you know, what's it going to take? And are you going to be able to do this all yourself? Are you going to need help? So I think you have to figure out what is it going to be. And if you're going to bake bread, don't go crazy. Maybe you're just going to offer two kinds. Maybe you're going to offer regular bread and you're going to offer cinnamon raisin bread. I don't know. So you offer maybe two kinds of bread.
Yeah, because
Maybe,
you don't want to have 10 different lines. I mean, this is production, and it's not as if there's a high profit margin to a loaf of bread. I mean, you're talking about a lot that goes into it
well, so the bread
without
itself
charging it.
is not profitable when we look at it at
I mean, I'm looking at unit level economics here.
yeah, in a home production environment, there's not a lot of money in bread profit. But when we get into
Right.
commercials, a lot more. So profit from, let's see, a loaf of bread of, it's roughly going to be, well, it's between 4% and 9% is the average profit for making bread. So what I would say is it has to be something very specialized. Maybe it has to be a unique kind of bread, unique kind of concept. Because there's so many people making bread. I can go to my local bakery and get some bread, right?
Of course. I mean, yeah, for example, this hypothetical person is real. I have sampled his French baguette. It is quite lovely. I mean, it is probably the best French baguette I could ever have. But at the same time, it is still just a French baguette, and it's not like the world is clamoring for French baguettes, and you can get a French baguette everywhere. So what you're saying is, find some way of making this a more unique product, and maybe having one or two products, and that's it.
Yeah, so
And
so
then,
baguette, just to let you know, in
so
baguettes, there's 27 million baguettes sold a day.
only,
Yeah.
yes,
So that
yeah,
means there's more than 300 baguettes sold every second. 27 million per day. So the
well,
Paris
that's
baguette is so successful um, because of the Paris, the patisserie type concept, how Paris does things. The baguette, ruling France, because the four ingredients we all know: wheat, flour, water, salt, yeast. They can't be frozen at any stage, and they can't have any additives or preservatives. So the question is, how do you make money? Being a baker. I think what I would say is you've got to come. Like maybe he makes a great baguette. Maybe he needs to make so there's something called savory and there's something called sweet, right? So savory would be for dinner and sweet would be for dessert. Maybe he would want to make a savory baguette, maybe something that has a protein inside. Maybe
mhm,
he would want to make let's say a sweet baguette. I think just the baguette itself is kind of taken. He needs to do
right,
something else in the form of a
okay,
culinary. It could be, like I said, it could be doing something like adding, it could be doing a meat. But you have to realize when you start doing like this, you're going to complicate things. And you're also going to have to realize that you have to understand the dangers of food now, the danger zone. So I think you have to realize that the best thing I would probably say is he could start small. He could start making maybe some dessert baguettes and maybe offering to a local coffee shop, so local
mhm,
restaurants, and see if they'd be willing to try it out. Say, look, I'll let you try my baguettes out for, let you try a dozen of them out. And if you like them, come back to me next time and this is what I'll charge you for them or whatever. So
right,
I
right.
think that's the issue. I think the uphill road he's got is that a lot of people are just making baguettes. I mean, I can look at my home and I can go to 4 or 5 bakeries.
To me, I look at this concept, and maybe I'm wrong in this manner of thinking, but I look at it and I go, "Oh my god." I mean, to replace a good income, to replace, I don't know, like, let's say a six-figure income, right? Um, you gotta make a lot of bread.
You
I
do, and
mean,
you
we're
have to
talking
realize
high
what he's
volume.
doing or she's doing is it's a side hustle.
Right.
Okay. Um,
In order to get to that level, you gotta move from side hustle to high volume and quality control,
yeah. So
and
you can only, I don't know
that's
how
not
many he
easy.
can bake. Probably in a day, he probably can bake 2 or 4 loaves a day, maybe.
Right, right,
Right. I know
maybe.
some people that have Facebook groups. Okay. And they make 12 loaves. Okay. Uh,
Mhm.
one of them sells them for five. They ask for a $5 donation. Okay. Another one likes to make sourdough. But they're really not they're not really raking in the dough, no pun intended.
Right.
they, they, they,
Ah,
they've got to get to scale. So I think what has to happen is he's got to get a recipe that people like. Then there are things like RPA, robotic process automation, or having the baguette made for him with his recipe. Because I don't think it's the fact that he makes the bread that's the thing. Because anybody can make bread, it's the recipe. I've been told this on all of my cookies and stuff. People make cookies and they're like, "Oh, I always burn them." I said, "Well, there's an art. Like one of the arts when you make cookies is," and I've been baking for many years, thanks to my grandmother when she was alive. And she taught me a lot of things, but there are a lot of things I learned. Like, for example, people say, like, you always have these metal trays and, you clean the tray after everyone. But the problem is when you clean a metal tray, you still get dirt from the cookie. So you can wash the tray, and I hate having dirty pans. So, and then it causes it to be permanent. So then they say, well, you could put aluminum foil. Well, that becomes a mess too. So then I said, well, you're supposed to use parchment paper. Okay, that sounded like a great idea. I did that. And then I started realizing, well, I could use parchment paper 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that was the problem. You can't use the paper more than one time. So when I make one batch and there's a race of oil, I have to pull that off the pan, cut a brand new one. Now that takes a lot more time. But I will tell
yes.
you that there's no burnt cookies and there's no pans that look old. So I think in his case is, I would think he's got to come up with maybe like a jelly or something unique. I don't know what his other skills are, but he's got to come up with something culinary besides just baking. Any well-known baker is not known because they can make bread, is not known because they can make a cake, is known because they can make something unique. For example, I make a mini cheesecake. Everybody makes cheesecakes, but the way I make the cheesecake with certain liquors and stuff like that, that makes my recipe. And I often thought about, hey, John, people say to me, John, do you want to start a culinary? And that's gone through my head a couple of times. I might still do that, but my whole thing is doing it in a way that's very small. And we're looking into some equipment next year that allows us to brand what we make. But the whole thing is, it's got to have something that's viable. And the reason that I even went down this pathway is because I own a marketing and advertising company. And a marketing and advertising company is not allowed to make food. So I thought about starting another company so that company could hire the food company to make that food and those specific logos and names, etc. So what he's got is great, but I think he's got to really come up with a concept of a taste. It can't just be a plain bread. I mean, his bread probably tastes good. Maybe it's in a matter of a certain type of butter he does. But I would say it's got to be something more like a jelly, like a jam, like something like that. And then not get too crazy with the packaging. And doing stuff like that. He could make the mini. He could do stuff for weddings. He could do stuff for coffee tea houses. But I think it's got to be more than just bread. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's got to be some staple in there. And then once he gets something that works, he's got to decide, does he want to keep continuing it or does he want to sell the recipe out? We all know that's what the big companies do. They get something that works, they get the patents on it, and then they produce it for 30, 40, 50 years. So I think what he's doing is
Right.
good. I think he's passionate. It's kind of like me saying to you, I'm passionate about making kites. I'm not. But let's say I was. And now making kites takes a lot of time. There's a lot of people that make kites. So just to prove a devil's advocate point, what is, let's say, the profit on kite making, if we had to think about that? Well, the profit on kite making, you basically have to invest about $500 in equipment if you want to do it properly so that you can actually make kites. Okay. And then you have problems with sometimes putting them together and stuff like that. So, I mean, you can make some profit, but you have to realize that if you make a really good kite, you're going to probably make about $25 per kite. Okay. So most good kites out there will sell between 50 to $100. But see what I'm saying? It always comes down to that commodity thing, right? What is it
Right.
that you're doing differently? If he's making something that's very unique, maybe he's making a bread that has somebody's name in it or something. But these are all things that take time. So I think he has to figure out, it might be great that he's passionate about it, but is he a baker? or is he just a bread person? I don't know if he
Yeah.
likes to bake or like my type of thing that I do more pastries and more desserts than I do more dinner. That's just my thing. It sounds to me like he likes to make the bread, but I'm not hearing whether he's truly passionate about being in pastries or being a pastry
Yeah,
chef.
like, I don't know if the passion is even there for business as much as it is just the creation of the bread. I just know the guy can make
So
a lot
one
of
way to
bread.
test that is he could make a couple loaves of bread
Mhm.
and he can bring them down and have people sample them. Let people, like, what do they think about it? And then start figuring out on paper, what is the cost for a bread making business? What does it cost? Like, I could tell you right now how much it costs to make me a cookie. I'm not selling my cookies, but I know what every cookie costs me. All right.
So you worked out the economics of the cookie. He would have to work out the economics of the bread and not do it, pie in the sky. I mean, be very real about it, you know?
Yeah, I think that, but a lot of people don't want to do that.
Well, it's not fun.
Well, it's not that it's not fun. It's that they might not have the head to do it. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of entrepreneurs are not money people when it comes to thinking. So over the last 3 decades, white PM bread has gone from 84 cents to $1.53 per loaf. Okay, that's quite a bit. And it is a
Mhm.
staple of our society. So let's just say he wanted to sell bread. I don't know. Let's say he had some rocket bread and he wanted to sell it for $3.99. He's still not going to make anything astronomical until he does something that has a real experience. Do you remember
Right.
the book about the fish where there were lady goes to the store and she gets fish at a very low price and she doesn't buy it there. The next store has the fish for a little more money, but the store's cleaner and they charge $1 more. Then the third store has fish for another dollar more, but then the fourth store has the fish for 4 times the price, but everybody goes to that store. Well, why? It is clean. It's just like the second store, but at the fourth store, they give everyone a bag when they walk in. Hey, John, how
Mm.
are you? What can we get you? I don't know, a flounder. Great. You throw it out, I catch it. Here's your next catch. What else can we get you? And you catch your food. So the slogan is come in and catch your own food in line or something like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, these are the kinds of things that propel business forward. People like to be part. Why is Disney successful? And I studied Disney and I've been in Disney's courses. It's not because Disney has a lot of money. Disney operates on a premise called experience. So they have a business model. Their business model is they will start out with being polite to you. That's number one. They will always be polite to you over everything else. Okay. The only thing that they will not be polite to you over, it was a safety issue. So safety is first. Um, being polite is second. Okay. Number third is not efficiency. They will waste product to have a better show, and efficiency is fourth. That's their model. That's
Hmm.
their model. So someone will always be polite to you in Disney no matter what, unless it's a safety issue.
And they'll always stay in character, which is part of the experience. And there's that experience.
And I think
Yeah.
in this case, for what he wants to do, the question I ask myself is, what is he passionate about? When we talk about making bread, what does he like so much? Maybe he shouldn't make bread. Maybe he should teach making bread.
Yeah.
Maybe he should start a school about how to make bread for bakers.
And that's for him to decide. And I think that ultimately we might have found the solution for this guy, which is to dress him up as a Disney princess and hand out baguettes at Disney.
No, because you have to realize
No, that's
something.
oh, but he could
That's
stay in
nice,
character.
but you have to realize that that's only going to go so far. Because if the
Yeah.
product doesn't lead to that magic, then why are you dripping up in all this foolishness? Like, what's the thing? I mean, you could say, gee, on Super Bowl Sunday, I'm going to dress up like a hot dog or like a football and hand out baguettes. Great. But it doesn't really do something for someone. And I think the
Well, no.
case is he's doing this because he enjoys making bread. He loves having fun making bread and nothing wrong with it. But I always tell people there's a hobby and there's a business. Okay. You can make your hobby a business. Don't make your business a hobby. What does that mean? So if you have a business and you treat that business like a business, okay, You're mindful, you know all the stuff, the costs, you're committed. Great. Don't start to lack that because, oh, I'll do it tomorrow because, I just get around to it. That's treating it like a hobby. If your hobby starts out with an interest and then you say, you know what? I want to get more serious about it. You could turn your hobby into a business. Just don't turn your business into a hobby.
No, and I mean, that makes perfect sense. Me, I'm an aviation guy. And I mean, I agree with you completely on that one. So it's like, you could start off, listen, I've got a hobby. I love flying airplanes. Flying airplanes is fun. Geez, you know what? I want to get this rating and that rating. Oh, look at that. Now I'm a commercial pilot. Now I can actually make money. Oh, cool. Well, now I'm making a little bit of money. You know what? Now I want to buy an airline. And you can do that. You can buy a Part 135 airline, and now you can actually operate a business still operating with your passion, which started out as your hobby. But the last thing you want to do is go the other way.
There was a big company, you probably remember them. It was a group of pilots. I think it was 12 pilots. And they started a company. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It lasted for a little while, but the reason it didn't go anywhere is that the pilots were not business people. And the way it worked is when you got off the plane, there was nobody at the gate. So the pilots get off the plane. I'm like, oh, wait, the pilots are coming. They're also the gate attendants. I'm like, kidding me.
Yeah.
No, they'll help you with the next flight too. He said, well, we have to hurry up because I have to get on the plane. I'm captaining this flight, so we have to wrap this up. Well, I want to get a ticket. I know, but I only have 5 more minutes and I have to check the plane before.
Yeah.
You have to kind of have some priority. So that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
and then we got on the plane. I never forget this. They were going to do the safety announcement. And they said, what kind of safety announcement do you prefer? I mean, what kind of safety announcement do you prefer? Well, do you prefer a female, a male? Do you want a comedy? Like, what do you want? And we're like, we don't care. Okay, we'll give you a comedian. So the guy comes on. Thank you for calling such and such airline. For those of you on the left end of the plane, okay? Well, let's just say, although I think it was Republicans that were our left end of the plane are Republicans. Please remember that it is important that you help the right end of the plane, our Democrats as well. That includes when it's time for our face masks, please be sure to put yours on, and please don't fight. There's plenty of masks to allow them to get theirs on once you're continued to. And they would do this whole thing. That when the whole thing was done about jumping off the plane and life preservers. So again, please don't fight over the preservers as we have plenty. They were paid for. And then it came time for the flight. And as you know, we try to keep this a no-frills airline, but we still try to give you all the safety and all the benefits. So we ask our crew to do a little bit more work for you, the people flying. Thus, when you have garbage, please notice there are garbage pails along. Please throw out your own garbage. Fine. In order to keep our prices down, you'll notice that our second stew will be passing around a basket. Please pass it over your head once, grab a piece, and pass it back. When the soda comes, just take one can. And they were doing this like this. They were passing the whole thing. We were on a plane one time, and the plane did more than a turn. It did like a pretty wide turn. Sorry about that little bit of a gutter there. Perhaps we had some wind that knocked us off our course, but feel free to have yourself an extra can of soda or an extra snack bar, and we should be getting you back to Florida soon. We do apologize for that slight detour we had to take. And
wow.
And I remember being on a plane just a few weeks ago, and these younger, it is the pilots. It's not always the air conditions, and I've learned this. They say, oh, it's the air. No, people can fly in all kinds of conditions. Well, these pilots were up there. I think they were probably only in their 20s or 30s. And I had to tell you, it was probably the best flight I had in 20-some years. There wasn't one bit of turbulence. A lot of times, these other pilots, they don't read, I guess you want to call it the wind or read the guides properly. And they try to go too close, and then we get all these bumps. Then they apologize. This guy was great because he said, he says, I don't want to promise you anything. We're going to do our best to get you a good flight, but I really don't have any info to share with you. We'll share more when we're in the air. So we get in the air. He doesn't tell us anything else. Doesn't tell us about smooth flight, rough flight, nothing. The whole flight was smooth. A lot of them tell you we're going to have a great flight. We're going to have a lousy flight, and it's always wrong. So I think that's an interesting thing. But I think what you're saying is that, we have the passion for something. We have to realize, is it a viable business? I mean, we might want to go in the popcorn business. Is that a profitable business? We may want to go in the cupcake business.
Viable.
Is it a profitable business? And I think the question is about him with his loaves of bread is, I would say he probably should start out with something small. Maybe he should just pick a couple holidays and just bake for those holidays and see how people go. It could be Christmas, could be Easter, maybe bake an Easter loaf or something, and maybe take off a whole 2 weeks and do that. But I would say he's going to need to figure out the time get everything down pat and have more of a schedule so that every day he's going to be baking so many loaves and put that into
Yeah.
his time because it doesn't sound like he bakes consistently. It's like kind of something
No,
he just
no.
does.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, we are unfortunately out of time, John, and it's been a pleasure having you on. And I want to give you an opportunity at least leave maybe a final thought, bit of wisdom, and tell people how to find you.
Okay.
So go ahead and let the audience know, how do we find you if they
So
want
first,
to
I do want to tell you who
learn
I
more
am.
connection?
I'm John C. Morley. I am a serial entrepreneur. And of course, you guys may know that I am a podcast host and a podcast coach. And I specialize in helping people basically find the stories about their business from truth. They want to reach out to me. They can go to Believe, Believe, me, M-E, Achieve, ACHIEVE.com. You can check out my videos, my podcast, IFYL, the J Moore Tech Talk, as well as read up on my 2 weekly articles that I write. I'm a member of the International Press Association, now celebrating 7 years this November. And I write stories and put video together that's all about truth. I recently wrote an article about how, why, and when you should change your job. So check that out, believemeachieve.com, and click on John C. Morley's recent articles. And there's just a lot of stuff that you guys can gravitate toward. But the thing I want to leave you with is everything that happens in this world happens for one reason, because of the thoughts you had yesterday. The things that are going to happen tomorrow are only going to happen because of the thought and the attention you put on it today.
All right. Well, thank you so much, John. It's been a pleasure having you on. And again, go to his website, connect with him if you're interested. And again, John, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you.